All right, guys, give Purdue credit. Obviously, they played well as we thought they would and made plays. So a lot to take from this, a lot we need to get better with. As far as Zed, no update, shoulder injury. So no update, we'll know more tomorrow.
Chris, on the lawyer three, were you guys hoping to double on the dribble? Did you want to double on the catch? What were you
Yeah, I'd rather not give that away, but we are obviously trapping. Okay. So, yeah, we did in the previous play, we were that one.
And then rotating out of that and being in rotation, Coach Painter said that sometimes like teams that don't maybe double a lot, that's where they struggle. They might do okay in the double, but it's the next play that can catch them. How did you feel you guys did when it came to?
Not good in the first half, better in the second half. And we have not trapped a whole lot, so Matt's right on that. But, I thought we had stretches where we were good with it.
Coach, your thoughts on the late turnover by Justice, and then maybe if you think that the late full court press is kind of biting you guys a couple times here between this and the North
we got to
Carolina.
get better at it. I got to get him more comfortable with that. That's not on Justice. That's on me. I got to get him more comfortable in those situations. So that one's on me.
The longer look at Felix today, obviously once Zed went out, how did you evaluate how he did against a huge player in Zach Edey?
Yeah, I thought he did some good things. He got obviously moved off his spot a lot. But I thought Felix really competed, as I expected he would.
So how much did you change what you were going to do because Zed was out? I mean, Edey's so big, you might have been planning to just double him the way, no matter who's in there. But I wondered if you were forced into something different because of Zed not being out there.
More, Bruce. We did feel like we had to make some additional rotational plays in the post because of not having Zed's body in there. Zed just obviously is a stronger kid and can move him off his spot a little bit more. So it changed it a little bit for sure.
Chris, Purdue came in struggling from three but hit 13 today. What stuck out to you about their three-point offense and what you guys maybe could do better next time?
We knew they'd shoot it better than what they had. They've got good shooters, and we were just a little bit slow on a couple rotations. They made some tough ones, but some of that is we've got to clean up. But give them credit too. They made shots.
Chris, you relied heavily on a lineup you haven't used a whole lot, and I'm sure the Zed injury had something to do with it, but like from about 8 minutes to about the last minute, what did you like about that group? What was it that you saw from them that you wanted to stick with that group?
I just felt like defensively we had some good matchups, and I felt like we were scoring the ball enough. I'm assuming you're talking about Roddy and Sean in there together with Justice and Bryce. So, I just felt like we were able to provide enough scoring and physicality and good length, and I thought Roddy was giving us some good things.
The last time out, the play that Bryce doesn't get the shot off, it seemed like they might have had an idea.
They ran through the screen.
Yeah.
They just bullied the screen. It really very easily could have been, I think, a foul. And we've got to do a better job of we have to clean that up. But they just bullied this. To be honest with you, I might have just watched it 5 times. They just bullied the screen. They ran right through Felix, and completely dislodged him to where Bryce. Bruce has to space it a little bit better in that situation, but it's not on Bruce. Again, those 2 plays are on me.
You got a rebound off a missed free throw with about 1:40 left. You called a timeout, and you ended up with Roddy taking a shot. I assume that's not what you wanted. Did Purdue take something away there that you wanted? Or
yeah, they took away the initial action. Yeah.
I feel like every time I ask you these questions about these freshmen, but you've been in some situations this year where last year putting Malachi in some of these situations felt like a luxury, even early in the game when EJ gets fouled out, he's not playing. But this year it feels more like a necessity. How are your nerves dealing with some of these ups and downs and these moments where sometimes it's good and sometimes it's
Yeah. No, I think it's different. It's different. I think there are some things that it's not just the freshman, it is the freshman, but Justice is in a new role. and so is Zed to a certain degree. So those guys being in new roles, I think we just have some growing pains, and I think we've done some really good things, but there's obviously a couple plays, a couple decisions in this game where you look at and you say, okay, we got to get better together in those situations. So.
And with
follow
Bryce, how have you seen teams maybe react to him, maybe now that he's maybe a little bit more established versus what they were doing with him the first 4 or 5 games when he was just another one of the 4 guys that you're going to have to play?
Yeah, just throwing a lot more attention on him, crowding his dribble more, running more guys at him. He's got less space to operate. They're anticipating some of his plays, and he did a good job tonight. He's, the one he charged on, he just has got to move it in that situation, and he'll learn from that.
To follow up on Adam's question about the last 9 minutes or so, I don't think Bruce was in until about a minute left. Justice playing most of the point. Was that just you liked the matchups there with?
Yeah, some of it is Bruce was a little. I didn't mean to cut you off. Bruce was a little under the weather last couple of days, and I thought the fatigue. I saw him more fatigued in this game, and I thought it might have been a byproduct of just being a little bit under the weather.
You've talked before about getting Justice more into the point guard role that he played a couple years ago. What did you think of that period when he was handling the ball more?
I have to go back and look at it, but I thought he did some good things. He made a nice pocket bounce to Felix.
And then I know you guys don't do moral victories or anything, but unlike football, you can lose a game like this and learn from it. You have time.
Right.
How do you think you guys can take this game, maybe the North Carolina game similarly, and build for when games are different later in the season?
Yeah, no, we'll see. Obviously, this was a back and forth contest. They had the lead late, then we got the lead, and then we lost it. So, again, I think more than anything, as a coach, you're looking back and you'd like to have a couple of those plays back as a coach.
So that's kind of where I was going, is Carolina and Purdue would both be really nice to have. You've done this long enough that you've probably had teams learn from those kinds of games, and later on in the season, you're not glad you lost, but you gained something from it. What's the key to get a young team like this, one you just talked about, makes decisions at least they don't deliver on the decisions you need late to decide it in the way you would prefer? What has to happen for that not to be your epitaph going forward?
Yeah, I think we've got to go through them. We've had a couple games where we've got to go through them. And obviously the Rutgers game was close and back and forth in a similar manner. But we've got to go through them, and this group has to go through them together. And we've got to clean up. We ran some new things that we put in, and we just have to get better at executing them.
Kind of going off of that, when you're that close a couple times here in the past month, what's the mentality in the locker room? How do you kind of get up tomorrow and say, hey, you know what, we're almost there?
Oh, listen, I think this is, this is all over college basketball. It's really hard to win. We see it every night. I'm sure our guys are disappointed. We're all disappointed, but we've got a really good Maryland team that we've got to play on Sunday. So, I think as much as anything, it's what we always talk about, and we've got to grow from it and move forward. And good teams find a way to do that, and teams that feel sorry for themselves, don't typically do that well enough.
When you look at kind of the turnovers late and another game kind of where things didn't go well in the last minute, did you hope at this point in the season those, stumbles would be gone, or is this kind of what you expected, knowing you have?
I don't know what you expect. I think, again, we've just got to get better in those areas. I don't know if you expect it or not. I knew there were going to be some growing pains, but I think it's just a byproduct of we've got to get better. I don't know what necessarily I went in expecting or didn't expect, other than I knew there was going to be some growing pains.
Chris, for Bryce right now, how do you feel like his trajectory maybe compares to what we saw from Malachi a year ago?
No, just different. Different. They're different players. A little bit different, and we're only a few games into league play, so it's hard to get a gauge and a comparison right now.
What he's doing, would you have expected this coming into the year that he'd be, leading your team in scoring, leading you in minutes against the number 1 ranked team in the country?
I don't know that I put that expectation on him, but he's done a good job in growing parts of his game that he needs to grow, and obviously we've needed his scoring punch that he's provided.